Greetings, I'm Shad, and welcome to my realism and practicality review of the medieval fantasy city Gran Soren from the video game Dragon's Dogma. Now, this is a special kind of review in that there is a lot to cover. Dragon's Dogma has done so many things right, but there are also a lot of things that are wrong. Therefore, to cover Gran Soren properly, I'm dividing this into two videos. This video, I am covering the city, Gran Soren's layout, designs, battlements, and defenses. The other video, I will be covering Gran Soren's castle itself. And because it's a castle in a city, technically it's a citadel. So after this video, please go and watch my video review of Gran Soren's castle. Also, I have to apologize for the audio quality throughout the review. Running this game while also doing a screen capture pushed my CPU and GPU to its limit, and so the fan speed is causing a bit of background noise. That's just my computer on the verge of dying, but I've tried to clean up the audio as much as I can, and hopefully it won't distract too much. Before we start to take a very close look at Gran Soren, I just have to say how much I love this game. Dragon's Dogma is literally my favorite video game ever made. Gameplay, just the visuals in design of the castles, the buildings, and also the armor and weapons. I just love it all. Dragon's Dogma really hits that perfect spot for me of the balance between fantasy and realism. I mean, just have a look at my character's armor and weapons here. Now, it's not 100% accurate, and it doesn't need to be historically authentic because it is a fantasy, but it looks accurate enough to be believable and immersive. It's just brilliant. Alright, let's start with some of the more broader kind of elements, meaning the design features that exist on basically all parts of the castle. So we'll be looking at the battlements, the overhangings, the corbels, if there are, these kind of things. So we'll begin with half and half. On the better side, most of it is good, meaning these merlons. So if you're looking up at the crenellations here, the merlons, which are the tooths that are sticking up, they look to be head height, which is the right size. Now, they have an overhang of the battlements, but they've done the mistake that was done in Skyhold of Dragon Age Inquisition, where they've just done it really for the visual element, and they have not understood, or the game designers have not understood, the practical reasons why you would have the battlements overhang from the wall that we're looking at here, and that is to create matriculations to fire down on enemies, and non-existent, not even there. So they've clearly just done it for the visual element. And interestingly, I think there are some cases of this being done on some, I know, recreated castles, like people who are making castles, they often do this just for the visual look. But there might even be one or two cases of historical castles having the overhang just for a visual element, but we have to understand it is serving no practical purpose at all. There is no reason to have an overhang if you don't have matriculations. In fact, it creates a detriment. So if I'm attacking, say, this castle wall here, and I walk up to about this close, you can't really see it, but the defenders on top of this wall here would not be able to fire down on me at all because I'm actually getting cover from the overhang. So that's a problem. Looking at the walls here, there looks to be a very small kind of buttress, and that would add a tiny bit of additional structural strength to the wall. It's not necessary, and I think it's mainly there for a visual look as well. First off, castles didn't care about visual looks, but as they started to serve a more social function, and they started to become or be used as palaces, the visual impressive impact of a castle became significant as well, and so castles started to adopt just visual embellishments on top of their practical defenses. You have to emphasize that practical defenses are the most important part of real castles, but they could have visual embellishments. As we continue on the outside of the wall along the city, we're seeing no major problems here at all. Consistent battlements, towers spaced appropriately apart, so the defenders atop these towers would be able to fire down, and their arrows would reach the next tower. That's about as far apart that you would want them. So all really, really good. Oh, these merlons, perfect size. Well done, Dragon's Dogma. Well done. When looking at the size of Gran Soren, I would class this as a small medieval city. It looks a lot bigger than some of the cities we've looked at in Skyrim and Oblivion. I do think the standard medieval city would be larger, but I think Gran Soren is large enough. The layout of Gran Soren is just absolute gold. Looking at it from above, we can see that there are 3 major divisions of the city itself. This adds such a profound level of additional defense wherever the city can be breached, okay? If it's the pawn area or the main kind of market area, they haven't taken the whole city and they have to work at breaching the other areas. When we look at the accessway in between these internal divisions, we see a portcullis. And that's brilliant, okay? Not only that, it would be also beneficial to have a full gatehouse, but there's an issue with this portcullis. Can you figure out what it is by looking at it? Okay, I'm now standing directly above that portcullis and the accessway in between. And there is no windlass here to raise that portcullis at all. Like, it's just being raised magically. One of the parts that really impressed me in terms of the access between these internal visions are the 2 access ways to the kind of rich quarter within the city. And so this one in particular is very brilliant. So what we have here, we have a gatehouse, okay, with a portcullis. Of course, same issues as the other one. I don't think there's any windlass here. And on this one in particular, I'm not sure there's actually enough room above the archway for the portcullis to be raised into. But it's very on the verge, so I can, make an exception there in my criticism. But what we have here is we have an external division, a wall, a gatehouse here, with a tower on the edge, and that would actually be called a bastion because this tower is on the same height as the wall it braces or sits next to. Now what we have here, if the enemy breaks through this gatehouse, this is a death zone, a death gauntlet, because as you're trying to get here to the next divisions, which really should have portcullises, no portcullises here, but they would still have to run along this length, and while they're running along it, death would be rained down from above, from archers behind those battlements there. And in this situation, I really do feel there should be an internal facing battlement on these walls, because the people who are running through this gate, they'd be able to fire up in return. So you want some type of cover for the defenders. But so there's a fail there. It's funny, again, this is one of those situations where they're tripping at the finish line, but it's a less of a trip. They've done mostly good here, because still, this was just a brilliant defense right here. As they break through, death gauntlet. This is just an absolute kill zone for the attackers, especially if there was another portcullis and door here, and another one. This would have 3 gatehouses on this accessway, which would be glorious. Yet they're missing the portcullises and the gates. The next accessway to the upper part of the city, and also where you get access to the castle, is here. And this is pretty good. It's got a door which could be barred and blocked off. Again, it'll be better with kind of like a portcullis as well. Not a lot of room for the portcullis to be raised into, but you always want to, you can never have too many defenses on castle-like structures and defenses. So we get here, stone floor above, it's slightly vaulted, it might be able to support itself, it's a bit of a reach, but we have a stone stairwell with kind of, battlements here, no internal facing battlements, but there could be defenders standing here firing arrows down on attackers, and then we come to another gatehouse that has no door or portcullis. It's a fail, and the overhang has no matriculations. They have the structure here for it, but again, they kind of trip at the finish line. But if those elements were here, this would be perfect. The enemy would have to bust through that door below, climb these stairs, get here, and be blocked off again. And the defenders could fire from this perch here, and also above on these battlements here. Just brilliant. And once you bust through here, there's another grate you gotta break through, and where you would be killed again. This here, another kill zone, and defenders on these battlements could fire down. So the layout of Gran Soren is just golden, beautiful. This second gatehouse is serving no real purpose. Of course, the reason why is that there's no portcullis or doors here at all. They could kind of fix doors if they really wanted to, and then there would be some kind of purpose, an additional barrier. But without it, and especially without a portcullis, there's no reason for this gatehouse. It's doing nothing. It would even be difficult to add a portcullis because there's not a lot of room above the actual archway for the portcullis to be raised into, because you'd have to have the windlass on top of the wall, on top of the actual gatehouse here, and not a lot of room to actually raise that portcullis into. We also see no murder holes here, which would have been perfect, and it would be hard to fit in arrow slits because there's not a lot of room on either side for defenders to sit in, so maybe arrow slits wouldn't exactly work, but reticulations at the top, murder holes on the middle of the arch, and a good portcullis and gates, and even a drawbridge right here would have worked wonders. But there's nothing, which means this gatehouse is useless. There's a lot to love about this gatehouse here. For one, it is following a very standard historical design of having two flanking towers, and these flanking towers are usually half towers or open towers, not at full circular towers. They could be, but more often than not in this design, they are half towers that extend further back, and Gran Soren has this, which is awesome. But then everything starts to fall apart, and you'll probably be able to see why. There are no arrow slits. Perfect places for arrow slits are right here, facing inwards to where attackers would be trying to assault the gate. And so the defenders on the inside of these towers would be able to shoot directly down on them. Not there at all. There are no meticulations on this battlement overhang at the top. There is no portcullis and no drawbridge. All those things are missed opportunities which make the gatehouse nowhere near as effective as it could be. I do need to apologise though. There is actually a portcullis here on this gate. And where it is, right in here. In fact, there is an actual windlass on, and we'll go and take a look at it. There is a windlass on this gatehouse to raise it, which is awesome. A big fail you see in a lot of fantasy castle designs, video games, and even on movies and stuff. They'll have a portcullis, but they won't have a windlass anywhere for it to be raised. And here is the windlass that raises the portcullis, as we see below. And underneath the windlass, here is the portcullis. And even the portcullis is done pretty, perfectly. Yeah? Timber-framed portcullis. Portcullises were predominantly timber. I've actually not seen a full metal one to this date from all the castles I've studied. There might be, because sometimes I haven't seen something for ages and then I come across it eventually. But so far, never seen a metal iron portcullis because cast iron didn't exist in the medieval period. That might be one. And so this, timber, accurate, brilliant. And what do I have here? What is here? These are wooden kind of trapdoors to what I can only assume to be murder holes. My goodness! I was saying that there was no murder holes on the external gatehouse, but here are these murder holes. I think they are. I'm here underneath on the gates of Gatehouse of Gran Soren, and I'm not seeing those murder holes that I was, saying looked to be from above. Not so sure, but yeah. And the other issue, if there were murder holes here, they would be serving very little purpose if there was not another barrier stopping people. So you would want another wall here, another gate, and another portcullis to trap the enemy. They break through this gate, and they get here, and they can't move anywhere else. This is where you would want murder holes. Without another barrier, those murder holes would be doing very little effect. But what we see here is that it's just open to the city, so a bit of a missed opportunity. Sometimes game designers, they got their heads right and they're doing well. Like, look, these stairs, brilliant design stone stairs. Very realistic. And so they're doing well. And then they just have an aneurysm or something. Because look what they've done here. Stone stairs supported by wooden bracing and frames. What are they thinking? No one in history would have ever have done this. you would switch to wooden stairs, like, you know, each tread here would be a wooden tread supported by wooden frames. Stone is just too heavy. Do you see what they've done here, where they have like a stone corbel sticking out of the wall that supports the wooden frame? I mean, that's brilliant. That is exactly how it was done historically. This is how you have additional floors on the inside of stone castles. See how you have this wooden floor here? You have these stone corbels jutting out that you then rest the wooden frame on, and that's how, again, how you get additional floors, levels on the internal keeps and towers of castles. So good. There is such accurate parts to this, you know, castle's design here in Gran Soren, yet then they just get total retard when they come to these stairs here. At least they didn't make the actual floor stone. They have wooden planks, because, gee, we saw that mistake on The Witcher. What's this? These are stone slabs? What's holding up these stone slabs? Wooden frames! Stupid! What have they done? They were doing so well! And then they just went insane. See the ramparts here? Oh, they look just brilliant. Now, interesting thing about this rampart is that this is a dividing wall between the more built-up city, and it's called the pawn kind of section, where, you know, all the lackeys, but it's really it's like a more poorer section. It's funny, this is a poorer section. The rich section is on the division of the city where just outside the keep. But because this is a dividing wall between the internal divisions of a castle, in this instance, I really do feel it would be better to have the battlements on both sides, because you don't know which side is going to be taken. So if you're going to have one side have battlements in case one of these internal divisions are breached, so you can then fire down on the bad guys who have taken it, you would want them on both. But this then raises the question that I was discussing in my castle review of Kaer Morhen from The Witcher 3 about having internal facing battlements, because there are no other internal facing battlements on the external walls. And, you know, it was done historically, and some people rightly say maybe they don't have it for anyone who does take, you know, this section, that people can fire, they can't, you know, use the internal facing battlements to protect them. So there's that discussion that we can consider. I just love that so much of this castle and city is accessible. It's so good. When you have, like, you know, blocked walls that oh no, you can't go in, and there's inaccessible areas, it destroys the realism. Now, of course, having said that, there are, you know, not every place is accessible. Like here, can't get in, it's blocked off. So it's not everywhere. See, no trespassing. So they haven't done it 100%, but they've done it. But that they have done it to the extent that they have in this game is just awesome. I love it so much. Wooden floor that is supported by wooden beams that are held on stone corbels. Just brilliant. It makes me want to cry. But I'm dubious about this stone floor here. If there was any floors underneath it, this stone floor would have to have a vaulted ceiling underneath holding it up, and I'm not sure that they would have done it. So this gatehouse here, as I've mentioned, fully accessible. It's just so good, and not only just accessible, every floor coming down. Look at this, all accessible, and then look, the thickness of the walls. It's like 1.5 meters. Do we see this? Not just a meter. Like if we count all parts 1.5 meters, and then they have done it perfectly. There's a cutout access way that leads in to where the arrow slit is to fire down. This is exactly how it was done historically. It makes me want to cry. So well done, Dragon's Dogma. Usually in video game castles, especially the ones that I've reviewed so far, they have the walls as thin as this part here. See where the arrow slit is? That would be the thickness of the entire wall of the gatehouse. Stupid! It's not how it's done. Walls are too thin, wouldn't be able to withstand bombardment or anything. But here in Dragon's Dogma, oh, look, the wall, properly thick. Oh, wait, there's a stone floor. What have they done? What have they done? Let us see. It's a vaulted ceiling! They've done a vaulted ceiling that has a stone floor above. Oh, like, you know, you think I'm overreacting. Look, I love castles so much, and I'm purposely being dramatic for entertainment. But the fact that they have done this is just brilliant, okay? No other video game castle has been this precise in their attention to detail. Vaulted ceiling that supports a stone floor. And if the floor is timber, they have corbels supporting it. It's perfect. I'm just here admiring again the way that they've done the arrow slits and windows. So beautiful. And look, they have like a stone archway supporting the stone regular brickwork. Brilliant. That's exactly how it would be done. And because castle walls are so thick, it requires these kind of alcoves to be built. But these alcoves actually become a feature of real castles, kind of like, you know, a pleasant little sitting or seat nearby a window, and it's just great. So my final thoughts on the city portion of Gran Soren are very, very positive. Separate to the castle, the city of Gran Soren is the best video game castle or castle-like structure, because it's a city, but it has castle-style defenses, the very best so far out of any video game or movie I have reviewed so far. Now, you know, it's not perfect, but they got so much right, which is really interesting because my review of Gran Soren's castle, well, it's very different. My final thoughts on it, yes, very different. And this has been my medieval realism and practicality review of the city Gran Soren from the video game Dragon's Dogma. If you would like to watch my realism and practicality review of Gran Soren's castle, please click on this link provided. Thank you for watching, I do hope to see you there, and until then, farewell. Lens flare! And while I walk around the city, I have to pause and kill some bad guys! Combat in this game is awesome. Not realistic, but it's fun! Oh gee, it's fun. I mean, you would never really do this. I mean, if you're surrounded by guys, but no. Oh, and by the way, I'm also playing on the highest difficulty you can in the game, like Nightmare mode. And usually people play on the highest difficulty in New Game Plus with high-level characters. I started with a 0-level character on Nightmare mode, because the combat is so satisfying in this game. I just love the challenge. These guys with the shields. Ah, you dog. So shiny. Knight in shining armor! And I started speaking like a pirate and I don't know why. Arr.